You see, there's a peculiar thing about life. The harder you try to hold on to it, the more it seems to slip away. It's like trying to grasp water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the less you have. But open your palms, and suddenly it rests there quietly, shimmering alive. Now, we human beings are very good at the art of holding on. We hold on to our money, our identities, our reputations, our plans, our lovers, our children, even our thoughts about what we believe reality ought to be. We clutch at things because we fear their loss. We cling because we imagine that control is the same as security. But life is not something that can be controlled. It's a dance. And in a dance, you don't grab your partner by the neck and drag them across the floor. You move together. You respond, listening, adjusting, flowing. The rhythm is not yours alone. It arises between you and the world. This, you see, is the great secret. The more you let go, the more life gives you. But that sounds strange, doesn't it? It sounds upside down. The mind says, surely if I let go, I'll lose everything. I'll drift into chaos. I'll become nothing. And yes, you will become nothing, in a way, but that nothing is not what you fear. It is not emptiness in the sense of lack. It is emptiness in the sense of space, the openness through which everything can appear. Imagine the sky worrying about whether the clouds will pass by. The sky doesn't cling to them. It allows them to move freely because it knows that it is not the clouds, and so it never loses itself. You and I, we are like that sky. But we've been taught to identify with the clouds, with the passing patterns of thought, emotion, and circumstance. We think that to be alive is to be somebody doing something important. We are terrified of simply being. So we construct elaborate schemes of control plans, ambitions, self-images, hoping to secure ourselves against the great unpredictability of existence. And yet, the more we try to secure ourselves, the more insecure we feel. Because every plan can fail, every image can crack, every possession can be lost. Life is slippery, and it loves to play. Have you ever noticed when you're trying very hard to remember a name, it refuses to come? You strain and squeeze your mind, nothing. But the moment you give up, the name floats back effortlessly. That is the very same principle at work. When you stop trying to force life, it reveals itself. We could say that existence is like music. You don't listen to a symphony to reach the final note as quickly as possible. You listen to the whole thing. You let it unfold, moment by moment. But our culture has forgotten how to listen. We are in a constant hurry to get somewhere else to achieve, to improve, to arrive. And in doing so, we never truly arrive anywhere at all. The act of letting go is the rediscovery of presence. Now, this is not something you can do in the usual sense. You can't try to let go, because the very act of trying is holding on. You can only see the futility of holding when you see it clearly. When you realize that your control is imaginary, the grasp relaxes on its own, like unclenching a fist you didn't know was tight. Letting go is not laziness. It is not passivity. It's trust. Trust in the rhythm of things. Trust that the heart knows how to beat, the lungs know how to breathe, the stars know how to burn without your supervision. When you let go, you discover that life has been living you all along. You are not the doer, you are the dance. The more you resist that truth, the more exhausted you become. The more you align with it, the lighter you feel. But of course, the ego, that little voice of separateness, doesn't like that at all. It wants to be in charge. It says, I am the one who thinks, who chooses, who controls. And that illusion gives it a certain dignity, a sense of importance. Yet, the ego is just an image, a pattern of tension in consciousness. It's like a wave thinking it controls the ocean. The wave rises, falls, and vanishes, but the ocean remains, endlessly expressing itself. When the wave realizes it is the ocean, it no longer fears its end. It moves with grace, it plays. So the question is not, how do I let go? The question is, can I see that I never was holding on in the first place? All that grasping it was imagination, a trick of thought. For you cannot hold on to the present moment, you can only be it. The Taoists of old said, those who flow as life flows know they need no other force. It's not about becoming weak, but about becoming aligned. When you stop pushing the river, you discover that the river knows the way. And when you trust that, something extraordinary happens. Life begins to surprise you again, not because it suddenly changed, but because you stop trying to make it fit your expectations. There's a marvelous freedom in that, like a child, playing without a plan, utterly absorbed, utterly alive. Have you noticed how children can turn anything into play? A stick becomes a sword, a puddle becomes an ocean. They don't cling to outcomes, they live in the unfolding. That's why they're full of energy, because they haven't yet learned the weary art of pretending to control life. The moment we begin to grow up, we're taught seriousness, responsibility, the business of becoming someone. And so we tighten in our shoulders, in our minds, in our hearts. We become afraid of mistakes, afraid of failure, afraid of love. We forget how to play. But to let go is to return to that playfulness, to remember that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to win, life begins to give you everything. Not because you've earned it, but because you've made room for it. The open hand receives what the clenched fist cannot. You see, the more tightly you cling to yourself, your image, your story, your control, the smaller you become. And the smaller you become, the less life can move through you. It's as though you've built walls around a stream, trying to keep it in one place. You call it my water. But the moment you do, it stagnates, it grows murky and dull. Life, in its essence, is movement, a flowing current, not a possession. So when you let go, you don't lose your life. You become life again. The tragedy of human anxiety is that we have mistaken control for vitality. We think that if we could only master the world, master ourselves, master the future, then we would finally feel safe. But the safety we seek is an illusion, because the very effort to control creates the danger we fear. When you grasp something, you separate yourself from it. You make it an object, something other, something apart. And in doing so, you divide yourself from the whole. You feel lonely, alienated, cut off, and then you say, if only I could reconnect, if only I could belong again. But you were never disconnected. You simply believed that you were. It's a very strange trick we play on ourselves. The universe is not a collection of separate things. It's a single process, like the sound of a bell that contains every vibration at once. You are that vibration, that resonance. You are not in the world like a visitor. You are the world, expressing itself as you for a little while. So, to let go is not to abandon life, but to return to it. To surrender the illusion of control is to discover the joy of participation. Have you ever watched a dancer who seems utterly free, yet perfectly in rhythm? The beauty is not in the control, but in the responsiveness. The dancer doesn't dominate the music, she listens. She feels its pulse. She allows it to move her, and that's why it's beautiful. Life is the same dance. When you resist, it becomes clumsy, awkward. When you let go, it becomes art. But of course, the mind resists this. It says, yes, but if I stop controlling, won't everything fall apart? Let's look at that. What exactly is this everything you're so afraid of losing? Your plans, they're guesses. Your possessions, they'll pass. Your identity, it changes with every season. What is left when all of that is gone? You, the awareness that sees. The silent witness that has been there through every storm, every victory, every heartbreak. You see, letting go doesn't destroy you. It reveals what you've always been, that spaciousness, in which the whole play of life takes place. It's like waking up from a dream in which you were struggling to stay afloat, only to realize that you were never drowning, you were lying safely in your bed all along. Now, this awakening doesn't mean you stop acting in the world. It doesn't mean you withdraw or neglect your responsibilities. Quite the opposite. It means that your actions are no longer driven by fear. You move with the flow rather than against it. When you do something out of trust rather than control, it has a completely different flavor. It's effortless. It's like playing a musical instrument. You don't force the notes, you allow them. You listen to the music as it happens through you, and life begins to happen through you. But here's the difficulty. We're terrified of nothingness, because to the ego, nothingness sounds like death. The ego wants to be something. It wants to be solid, defined, real. It can't bear the thought that it might be an illusion, a temporary ripple in the vast ocean of being. So it builds defenses. It says, I must survive, I must achieve, I must prove myself. But tell me, what exactly is it that survives? What is it that you're trying to protect? When you see through the illusion of the ego, you discover that the very thing you've been clinging to never truly existed. And that realization, rather than being depressing, is liberating beyond measure. For if you are not this anxious little controller, then what are you? You are the openness that allows all things to arise and pass away. You are not in life, you are life, looking out through these eyes, feeling through this body, thinking through this mind. And when you see that, you no longer need to hold on, because there's nothing outside you to lose. That's what the sages meant when they said, the one who dies before he dies will never die. They meant that if you let the ego die, if you let go of the illusion of control, you will discover a life that cannot be taken from you. It's the life that is happening right now, before your thoughts, beneath your ambitions, beyond your fears. Have you ever noticed how, when you stop running from silence, it begins to sing? There's a stillness in every moment, a subtle hum beneath all things. That's the sound of being. But we are so busy chasing our own echoes that we never hear it. We are like a man frantically searching for his glasses while they're already on his face. Letting go is simply the moment you stop searching. You realize that what you were looking for, peace, freedom, love, was never somewhere else. It was right here in the space between your thoughts. And then something beautiful happens. Life becomes play again. Not the frantic play of winning or losing, but the simple, spontaneous play of being alive. When you walk, you walk. When you eat, you eat. When you laugh, you laugh. You don't rush to make meaning of it all. The meaning arises naturally, as fragrance arises from a flower. To let go is to rediscover the art of simple being. It's not about renouncing the world, but about no longer being possessed by it. You still have things, but they no longer have you. You still love, but you no longer demand that love conform to your expectations. You still plan, but you no longer worship the plan. And then miraculously life begins to work, not because you made it work, but because you got out of its way. The heart beats on its own, the breath moves, the stars spin. The same intelligence that orchestrates galaxies is the one that blinks your eyes. To let go is to remember that you were never separate from that intelligence. Ah yes, fear and love, the twin currents of human life. You see, fear is always rooted in the illusion of separation, the sense that there is a me here and a vast, unpredictable world out there. Love, on the other hand, arises the moment that wall begins to dissolve. When you truly love someone, you no longer stand apart from them. Their joy becomes your joy, their pain, your pain. You flow into them. You cease to be two. And that's why love is so terrifying, because it threatens to dissolve the very boundary we've spent a lifetime defending. To love is to let go. To let go is to love. The fearful mind says, if I give myself completely, I'll be hurt, I'll be rejected, I'll lose control. But that's precisely what makes love divine. It is beyond control. You cannot manage love any more than you can command the tide to rise. You can only surrender to it. And when you do, you discover that what you were guarding so fiercely, that fragile little self, was never worth protecting in the first place. For in the giving of yourself, you find yourself enlarged beyond all measure. The ego wants to possess love. It says, I love you, therefore you are mine. But true love says, I love you, therefore you are free. The difference is everything. When you let go of trying to control love, you stop turning it into a bargain. You no longer say, I will love you if, or as long as, you simply love, as the sun shines, or the bird sings without reason, without demand. And strangely, it is in that freedom that love flourishes. When you try to force love, it withers. When you give it room to breathe, it grows. Just as you cannot force a flower to bloom by pulling on its petals, you cannot make love happen by grasping. You can only create the conditions in which it blossoms. Naturally, openness, trust, surrender. And what applies to love applies to life itself, for life is love in motion. When you stop grasping, life begins to pour through you like light through an open window. You begin to see that every experience, joy, sorrow, success, failure, is an expression of that same love, wearing different faces. But you must be willing to lose yourself to see it. You must be willing to let go of who you think you are, so that what you truly are can reveal itself. And that's where fear arises again. Because the ego whispers, without me you'll vanish, you'll dissolve into nothing. And it's right, you will dissolve. But what remains is not nothing, it is everything. It's like the moment a drop of water falls into the ocean. From the point of view of the drop, it dies. From the point of view of the ocean, it becomes infinite. That's the secret the mystics have always known. The more you let go, the more life gives you, because the you who was grasping was never the real you. When you let go of control, what's revealed is not chaos, but harmony. What's revealed is not loss, but abundance. Because life is not something you have to manage. It's something that manages itself beautifully, spontaneously, intelligently. When you're hungry, you eat. When you're tired, you sleep. When you're moved, you speak. It's only when the mind interferes with its endless shoulds and shouldn'ts that the dance becomes awkward. So letting go is not a practice in the usual sense. It's a recognition. It's seeing that the dance has always been dancing itself. The trees do not struggle to grow. The stars do not worry about shining. The birds do not plan their flight. And yet everything moves with astonishing precision. You too belong to that same order. When you release the illusion of control, you return to the natural rhythm of being a rhythm that is effortless, spontaneous, and infinitely creative. Then life becomes a kind of divine improvisation. You stop trying to compose the perfect score, and instead you learn to play. You respond to what is not what should be. You begin to discover the subtle intelligence of the moment. You find that when you need to act, you act. When you need to rest, you rest. When a problem arises, the solution comes of its own accord. It's not magic, it's simply the way life works when you stop obstructing it with fear. You see, fear tightens. It narrows the field of vision. It says, this must not happen. But love expands. It says, let it happen. Let it unfold. And that's the essence of surrender, not resignation, but openness. When you let go, you're not saying, I give up. You're saying, I trust. You trust that the intelligence which grows trees, forms galaxies, and makes your heartbeat knows what it's doing. You trust that even in your confusion, there is a deeper wisdom at work. You stop treating life as an adversary and begin to treat it as a partner in the dance. And that changes everything. For then, even pain becomes meaningful. Even loss becomes beautiful. Because you no longer see them as enemies, but as part of the movement of life, as the dark notes that give contrast to the melody. Without the shadow, there can be no light. Without endings, no beginnings. So to let go is to make peace with the whole of existence, not just the parts you prefer. When you stop demanding that life conform to your desires, you discover that life gives you far more than you ever dared to ask. Not because you have mastered it, but because you have joined it. And that, you see, is the ultimate generosity of existence. It gives itself completely to those who no longer cling. When you let go of trying to be someone, you can finally be anyone. When you stop insisting on knowing, you become open to everything. When you cease resisting death, you begin to live. So the paradox remains. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Not as a reward, but as a revelation. For you and life were never two. Now, let us take this deeper beyond understanding, beyond philosophy, into the heart of experience itself. Because, you see, all of this letting go, surrender, flow, it's not meant to be merely understood. It's meant to be lived. To grasp it only with the mind is like reading the menu and never tasting the meal. You must taste it. You must feel the flavor of letting go, here, now. So let's imagine for a moment you're standing on the edge of a vast ocean. The tide is pulling at your feet. You can feel the sand giving way beneath you. The wind is in your hair. The horizon stretches endlessly, and you realize there's no line dividing sea from sky. It's one movement, vast, shimmering, alive. And for a brief moment, you forget yourself. There's no watcher, no thinker, no controller. Just the sound of the waves, the rhythm of the breath, the heartbeat of the world. That is what it feels like to let go. No resistance, no holding back, just life as it is. It's not that the problems disappear, it's that you see them differently. You no longer stand outside them trying to fix them. You realize you are them, you are the process. And in that seeing, tension dissolves. The problem and the solver fall away together. You awaken to the simple miracle that everything is already happening by itself. Now, the ordinary mind doesn't like this revelation. It wants to do something with it. It says, I understand now. I will practice letting go. But the moment you say, I will let go, you've already missed it. Because who is this I that's going to let go? It's the same one that's been holding on. Letting go happens when you see there's no need to. Like laughter, you don't force laughter. It bursts out when you finally see the joke. And life, you see, is the ultimate joke, a cosmic play of opposites, pretending to be serious. The tragedy and the comedy, the birth and the death, the joy and the sorrow, all woven into one great laughter. The trick is to see the dance without trying to pin it down. When you let go, you stop taking life so personally. You stop fighting with the wind. You stop shouting at the rain. You stop demanding that the sun rise on your schedule. And suddenly there's peace. You find yourself at ease in the flow of things, not because the world has changed, but because you've stopped trying to make it obey your will. That's the quiet power of surrender. It's not submission, it's participation. It's realizing that you are the river, not the stone. When you live from that awareness, there's no need to defend, no need to strive. Action still happens, but it flows from understanding rather than compulsion. And then even the smallest gestures, a smile, a step, a breath, become sacred. You see, the secret of letting go is not indifference, it's intimacy. Because when you stop clinging, you finally touch life. You meet it directly, without the filter of fear or desire. Look at a tree. It doesn't cling to its leaves. When the season changes, they fall, and the tree stands bare, silent, accepting. But that surrender is what allows spring to come again. In the same way, when you stop clinging to yesterday, to the way things were, to the image of who you used to be, something astonishing happens. The space opens for something new to grow. But as long as you're clutching at the old, your hands are full. The more you let go, the more life gives you, not because it's rewarding you, but because your hands are finally free to receive. And what life gives is never what the mind expects. It gives you what you need to awaken. Sometimes that means joy, sometimes loss, sometimes expansion, sometimes contraction, but always it is perfect, because every wave, however turbulent, belongs to the ocean. Now, perhaps you begin to see that letting go is not an act, but a recognition, a seeing through the game. You don't let go of life, you let go of your imaginary control over it. And then you laugh, because you realize life has always been doing just fine without your supervision. You can trust it. You can trust that the same force which grew the forests and carved the mountains is the one that moves your heart. Trust, that's the word that glows quietly beneath all of this. When you trust life, you're no longer anxious about outcomes. You don't have to know what tomorrow brings. You don't have to be certain of how things will turn out. Because you see, the uncertainty is not the enemy, it's the playground. Life is not a riddle to be solved, but a song to be sung. And what makes a song beautiful is not its conclusion, but its movement, the rise and fall, the tension and release. So let go of the obsession with endings. Let go of needing to know. And then, perhaps for the first time, you'll begin to hear the music that's been playing all along. The music of now. Listen closely, it's everywhere. In the hum of traffic, in the laughter of children, in the whisper of wind through trees, even in the silence between your thoughts. All of it, one great symphony, rising and falling, endlessly. You don't need to understand it. You only need to listen. And in that listening, there's peace. And so, as the music of life plays on endlessly weaving its harmonies of joy and sorrow, birth and death, something within you begins to soften. The old tension, the anxious grip of me against the world, starts to dissolve. What once felt like a battle becomes a dance. What once seemed chaotic begins to shimmer with an unseen order. You begin to see that there never was a separate you struggling to control life. There was only life flowing through the pattern called you. The wave was never apart from the ocean. It was the ocean momentarily playing at being a wave. And when the wave realizes this, it doesn't disappear, it relaxes. It rises and falls with grace. It no longer fears its own end because it sees that it never truly began. This is the great secret of letting go. It is the recognition that you were never truly holding on. You were never steering the ship. The hand on the wheel was also the sea. And that realization brings a kind of laughter, a deep, quiet laughter that bubbles up from the very heart of things. It's the laughter of release, the laughter of freedom, the laughter that comes when you finally stop pretending to be something other than what you are. You are not a stranger in this universe. You are the universe, looking back at itself. The eyes through which you see the stars are the same eyes through which the stars see you. Letting go is the moment you awaken to that fact, not as an idea, but as an immediate living truth. You see, the fear of letting go is the fear of death. But death is only frightening when you believe you are something separate from life. Once you see that life and death are two sides of the same rhythm, the fear vanishes. Just as every exhale makes room for the next inhale, every ending makes room for beginning. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold our breath to make the good moments last, to avoid the bad ones, to freeze the flow. But life is breath. It's meant to move. So let it move. When sadness comes, let it wash through you. When joy arrives, let it dance. When uncertainty rises, let it be uncertain. Don't cling to the wave, surf it. You see, it's the resistance that hurts, not the movement itself. If you drop a leaf into a river and try to make it stay in one place, it will struggle against the current and tear itself apart. But if you let it drift, it travels effortlessly, carried by the very force that once seemed frightening. The current of life is carrying you, always has been. And every moment of surrender brings you closer to realizing that the current is you. There is no need to conquer life, because you and life are not two. The river does not need to push itself to the sea. It simply flows, and that flowing is its journey. So let go of the idea that you are behind schedule, or that you must reach some higher state, or that you must earn your right to be. You are already the dance. You are already the movement. When you stop running after what you think you should become, you discover what you already are, spacious, vibrant, free. And that freedom is not something you acquire, it's what remains when you stop pretending. Try for a moment to stop trying. Listen. What happens? The mind may flutter, but beneath it there's a stillness, vast, silent, awake. That stillness is not something you create, it's what you are. You have never been separate from it. You've simply been distracted by the noise of becoming. The secret is that nothing needs to be added to you. You don't need enlightenment. You only need to notice that you are the light, momentarily dreaming of being lost. So let go, not as an act of will, but as a gentle remembering. Remember that you are already home. The trees sway, the rivers flow, the stars burn, and you breathe. All of it, one breath. You see, when you let go completely, even the notion of letting go disappears. There's no one left to do it. There is only this living moment, unfolding effortlessly, now and now, and now again. And this is what the mystics called freedom, nirvana, awakening. But these are only words. The truth of it cannot be spoken, because it isn't something. It's the silence from which all somethings arise. It's the space in which the dance takes place. And you, dear listener, are that space. Not the character moving within the story, but the vastness in which the story unfolds. When that becomes clear, even for a breath, even for a heartbeat, the whole world changes. Not because the world is different, but because you are no longer separate from it. The wind through the trees is your breath. The laughter of a child is your own joy echoing back. The grief in another's eyes is your own heart weeping. All opposites dissolve in that seeing self and other, birth and death, holding and letting go. You realize they were never two, but two movements of one infinite gesture. And then, what remains? Just this, the simple, radiant mystery of being. So, let the mind fall silent now. Let the heart rest. Let the waves rise and fall as they will. There is nothing to attain, nothing to defend, nothing to become. You can finally stop. And in that stopping, in that stillness, you will feel it, the pulse of life moving through everything, the quiet hum of the universe breathing you into existence. It has always been this way. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Because when you let go, you discover that you are life. You were never apart from it. You were never holding it. It was holding you all along. So breathe and let yourself fall into the great rhythm that never began and never ends. For there is only this boundless, eternal now, and it has already given you everything.